Oh, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening.
Good evening.
Hopefully you can hear us well. We're having some technical difficulties, which is why we're a little late. Um, you might hear some other background noise, but whew, first, sorry we were not on last week. We were out on travel, didn't reach our destination in time for us to be able to flip the camera on and get on here with you. But we are back with you tonight. We're back with you tonight for our late night with the riches. Late night with the riches. So we're enjoying it. It's been a long day. I hadn't even had a chance to get my shower, eat my dinner. It's been a breakneck pace today.
Yeah, life's been life, and so.
But yeah, I don't know if life been lifing, but time been timing.
A little bit. Well,
Time.
I mean, everything is not. It hasn't gone how you planned it, or would like for it to have flowed for today. So
Maybe. Or I was tired and I took a nap,
you did that too.
and so I didn't get some other stuff taken care of and ready to go um, tonight. So yeah,
So life's been life.
tell a member, tell a friend, tell her however you want to say it. Tell a friend, tell a family member, shoot, tell an enemy. It's late night with the riches tonight, and
Tell a neighbor.
tell a neighbor, yeah, all of that. Tell all of those people. Um, what am I doing? What I want? Oh, there it is. Hey, look at there, logo. Have to put it in black or something to let it show up. Anyway, thank you for joining us tonight, and
Mm-hmm.
we are gonna talk about marriage, seasons, and vows. Marriage, seasons, and vows. We, as we continue to draw closer to 25 years of marriage, and just even some late conversations because it's not even about length.
Mm-hmm.
But marriages can marriages can experience seasons like spring, winter, fall. No, summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
summer, spring. No, it ain't.
No, I'm saying you said all the four seasons.
Yeah,
So
summer,
you
spring,
trying
winter,
to say?
fall. I'm trying to think of the song. Uh,
Oh, you trying to say in
Winter, spring,
order?
summer, fall. There it is. The song. The Leverts or something. It's winter, spring, summer, fall. I give you my all. Yeah,
Oh,
something like
okay.
that. Yeah, the
That
song.
song.
The song. That song. Whatever the
I
song
thought you
is.
was doing Boys
No,
to
no, no,
Men.
no, no. That's a different song.
Oh, okay.
That's a different song.
But it's seasons, right?
It's seasons.
Okay.
They don't sing seasons. The reason. Oh, that's reasons, not seasons. Sorry. Um, but we wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit about, the seasons of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
There's seasons in marriage. There are winters. There are falls. There are springs, and there are summers
You're right.
in marriage. And in those things of the four, the four seasons, they happen, and I think in different seasons, particularly probably summer, winter, and fall,
Mm-hmm.
is where vows get most challenged. And then you swing around to summer and spring, and we might be tempted to believe that there are no challenges to vows in those times either.
You say that there aren't any.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We might think that challenges
Mm-hmm. Only happen.
only happen in winter and fall,
Mm-hmm.
but the reality is challenges can happen in any season of marriage.
Right. I
Right.
think you may just have more when you're talking about your winters and your falls.
Yeah. One of the things is because of our mic situation,
Mm-hmm.
you ain't gonna be able to use your sultry low voice.
Oh, but I thought this was late night with the.
It is.
Oh.
Unfortunately, the technology ain't gonna let you.
Talk low. Got it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. If you can't hear us, just let us know. Or if you can't hear me, let me know.
Yeah, yeah, all of that. But you were saying.
What was I saying? Oh, that usually they don't last as long in your spring and summer.
Mm-hmm. You ain't got to yell at the camera either.
Did not.
You turned it in your spring and summer, right? So, kind of thinking about the vows, thinking about the particular vows that we make. You know, one of my favorite things to tell people, especially when we're doing our marriage, pre-marriage education, is that one of the things I believe we have to get right about vows is that we're not necessarily making vows to each other. And I'll tell you a thought I had today. We're not making vows so much to each other as we are making vows to God about the person that He gifted to us. So, God, I'm going to take care of the son or daughter that you gifted to me for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, and for richer or for poorer, which none of those vows are the vows that's in the Bible. Matter of fact, I need to. Adam may say none of that.
What did he say?
And he performed the first wedding. He said, "This is now, hey, this we can go ahead and shorten the marriage vows. Let's just go to Adam's vow. This is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. And for this reason, a man shall leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife." That, amen, kiss the bride, let's go. Right? Because those are the vows that those are really the only marriage vows we see in the Bible.
I think it's for us slower people that you have to articulate or bring it out just a little bit more about what does that really mean. So it gives you a little bit more context to this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. And yeah.
And I can get with that.
You're going to cleave to me and leave your mama now.
Yeah, because I think you have to we're getting closer. Did you put some spicy stuff in my salad?
I did not.
On the salmon?
It's a little cayenne on the salmon. Just a tap.
Just a tap. The Lord. So that bone of my bone, because in sickness I can't abandon my bones. In sickness I can't abandon my flesh. Better and worse, I can't abandon my bones and my flesh. So when Adam made that proclamation, those are the only wedding vows, we call it that are in the Bible. So here's something that came to my mind today.
But you know you have to make it plain.
I know, making it plain, but the base is that.
Right. I agree.
Right? And if we really take those vows to heart, then divorce becomes and other stuff becomes much more challenging.
And taking the vows that you are making it to God and not to the person. And a lot of times we don't think that through, or when the preacher says this is not to be entered into lightly, and you're kind of thinking at the moment, at least for me, okay, lightly, what does he mean by that? And or then you start like, did I take this lightly? What is all of this? At this moment. So that covenant that you are making, because it's a covenant that you enter into, and knowing that covenant is to that it's about you to God.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That is every, like, I can't take this lightly. I can't enter into this relationship lightly. Here's something that I was thinking about today. and I wanted to make a post, but I didn't. Creative energy just been off. But the thought I had is one of the first questions you've got to ask yourself. I'm going to put it in a couple of categories. Mm-hmm. One of the first questions you've got to ask yourself before marriage, if you're already in marriage and you're trying to have a stronger marriage, mm-hmm. you have to ask yourself the same question. Mm-hmm. If you're in marriage and you're trying to heal your marriage, right, you got to ask yourself the same question. So it's three different scenarios, but it's the same question. Okay. What type of marriage do I want to have? Mm-hmm. What type of marriage do I want to have? Right. Because there's two types of marriage that came to my mind today that you can have. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, starting to think about as we go forward coaching marriages, one of the first questions I want to ask is what type of marriage do you want to have? Mm-hmm. Right? Because either I'm A, based off of your answer, not coach you at all, or B, I'm going to coach you from that perspective, however flawed it may be. So here's the two types of marriage you can have. Right. I want a Bible-based marriage, mm-hmm. or I want a society-based marriage. Oh, but I cannot have both of them.
That's good.
It'd be nice.
Mm-hmm. I think we try it all the time.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Mm-hmm. We try to have a society-based marriage with God in the middle, mm-hmm. and you cannot do that. You either want a society-based marriage, mm-hmm. or you want a biblical-based marriage.
Right. And we're not talking about low-hanging fruit, because when you say biblical-based marriage, then people immediately go to the traditional roles and duties, and if that makes sense. Like, oh, I gotta do this. That means for women, a lot of times, I gotta be tied to one submission and cooking and cleaning and having babies, being fruitful and multiplying. When you don't have full context of really what that means to do so. And then where you fit in your job. Not that you don't have the conversation about things that you're going to do in the marriage, because I think immediately people just jump to that when you say biblical versus society or societal marriage.
Well, Professor, what do you think a biblical-based marriage is?
Just taking the Bible, reading the scriptures, and where it says the wife, where it says husband, we're reading it, we see what it says for us to do, or what we should be doing, and that's the end of the story. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lord, help me, because it's not always easy.
Reason I asked that, mm-hmm. and we can go, we might have to do this on a different episode, but you went into the low-hanging fruit of some of the things you said, mm-hmm. right? And if you read the scripture, there's some things that actually would contradict some of what you were saying. That low-hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm. Like, for instance?
I want to get the scripture. That's why I say I don't want to just halfway say it and people like, what is that? But there's some specific instructions in there.
Right.
About what husbands do and what wives do. Mm-hmm. There are some specific instructions. But I'm going to bring it up a level.
Right.
When I'm talking about that Bible-based marriage or society-based marriage, it does boil down. So I remember when we were doing the series on marriages in the Bible. Mm-hmm. And when we were doing marriages in the Bible, one of the things that we came across, I think, is with Abigail and Nabal, her husband.
Right.
And you think about that story, and it said that her husband was harsh towards her, right? Yeah. It's harsh.
It did.
And today, in a society-based marriage, leave because I'm not happy. And I want to be clear, you know, when we talk about abuse, because the word abuse gets thrown in, and I'm not saying it's not, but the word abuse gets used very lightly. Well, he ain't complimented my hair in a week, and that's just emotionally abusive, or you know, this, that, and other. But it says that he was harsh with her. Mm-hmm. You didn't hear her about her leaving. I know somebody's gonna say, "Well, that's a different time. The Bible does not change,
right,
based off of societal times, right? So that was a different time, and this and that, and women were more like property, and this and this and that." Listen, Sarah, get over the Hebrew, says that she's honored because of how she reverenced Abraham and called him Lord, right? Somebody say, "Well, these men ain't Abraham." Well, they might be, because Abraham lied. He slept with another woman, even though it was with his wife's permission and instruction. Abraham was disobedient. Abraham was going to kill their child because he thought he heard God. And Sarah like, "Whoa, wait a minute." At least we think Sarah would have said, "Whoa, wait a minute." But she trusted Abraham. There's a whole lot of things that come into play when it, you know, when it comes down to some things or what have you, right? Mm-hmm. Let's go to Leah. Leah was so unloved. It said that Leah was unloved. Right. And cried out to the Lord. God didn't say, "Oh yeah, you got this wrong. This ain't the husband for you. Go back to your daddy house." Mm-hmm. So I'm saying that when I talk about biblical versus spiritual, unless somebody say, "Oh, you focusing on all the aspects of men," I like the way somebody put it. It is a woman that put it this way. At least the first time I heard it, it was a woman that put it this way. She said this. She said, "Women, y'all complaining about submitting to your husband. Submitting to your husband. When God tells your husband, die for your wife." Mm. He don't tell her to die for him. Right. You're complaining about submit. I got to submit to him, and he's got to die for you. You're right. So his level of submission to God, not that we comparing, his level of submission to God has to be up here, right? To the point of being willing to die for her, right? For his wife,
right? And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think the issue is, and that you're going to hear from women is, well, I don't see that, and I'm not saying it's right, but it's like we're most of the time you're going back and forth, tit for tat. Well, when he does this, I'll do this, or he's not doing this, so I'm not required to do this.
Sounds like a society-based marriage to me. Don't enter into
this marriage lightly, people. I'm just saying. It's not to be entered into lightly. But yeah, a lot of times it's just like, well, I'm not, you know, it's always a back and forth.
I hear
that all the time.
I hear it, but that brings it back. Do you want a biblical-based marriage or a society-based marriage? Show me one time where God cared about feelings. I can wait.
Right. And God does care about feelings, but I understand the way you were talking about caring about feelings.
Break it down for the people that don't.
Can I break that down? I think that's one of those things you have to grow to really understand and be in a relationship in that space where you really get that God does care about your feelings, because God talks about compassion all the time and understanding what we go through and our tears and all of the things. But that doesn't mean that that whatever he has purposed or will, that it gets done away with because of how I feel or because of how you feel.
God doesn't care about our feelings. No, I'm just saying.
Right.
I hear you. Now I got to go look up the word compassion.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where I let me go through. If God cared about feelings, Moses would still got to go to the promised land. If God cared about feelings, he wouldn't have told Abraham. And you made a point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
God does care about our feelings, but it's so it's like, I'll put it this way. A teacher that we talked about the other day that we both had. Not that she didn't care about our feelings, because she was like, "Oh, okay, but you earn what you got." So you earned the grade that you got. If you was in her class, you was joking and laughing, and you didn't do your work or what you were supposed to be doing. It's like, I love you all, but at the end of the day, my rule is my rule.
Shout out to Miss Harriet Williams, the realest out there.
Yes. This is what it is. And so it's on you if you want to the grade or not, or to pass the class, or all of those things. And that's the same thing God does. It's free will.
Mm-hmm.
It's free will.
Let me say it another way. Because I still say God don't care about our feelings. God ain't moved by our feelings.
Okay. There you go.
I say that way.
That's a better way.
He don't care. God be saying, don't forget to come and pick up your feelings.
No.
Okay. Because he told Abraham, send Ishmael away. And Abraham like, this my boy. Bye-bye. I'm going to take care of him. Be a deadbeat dad, Abraham. That ain't what God really said, y'all. I'm just having a little fun. He cared about feelings, but to a point of compassion, he blessed Leah's womb, right? Because he cared about her as a person. I guess for me, he cared about how she felt. He wasn't moved by her, like I said, by her feelings. And I'm talking about trivial feelings.
Right.
God, they hurt my feelings today. And my husband did, or my wife did it, and God, like, I don't care nothing about that. Don't you go getting moved. I ain't moved by your feelings, and you need to stop being moved by your feelings. That's good. Get yourself together.
Right.
And let's keep it moving.
Right.
Because we got somewhere to get. We got a purpose that I need you to fulfill. Right? How we got all the way over here on feelings. But so biblical marriage versus society marriage. It's just so important. It is so important. Because when you get down to biblical marriage versus spiritual marriage, I mean God-based marriage versus society-based marriage, then there are some distinct differences in that. There are things that society cares about that God does not care about or is not moved by. Right. And you have to make up that decision. And I think that a lot of marriages, this is just what my reflection was today. A lot of marriages go wrong. A lot of Christian marriages, believer-based marriages, go wrong because we try and do a God thing with society motivations, a God thing with society flavor. Right? That just doesn't work. Doesn't work for God. It ain't how it go. So let's get back to these seasons, huh? We'll keep it moving here. Get back to these seasons. So there's,
what season are we in?
Winter, spring. What season are we in?
No, I'm saying.
Oh, I was going to ask you. You tell me.
On the topic.
Okay. Let me run through them. Okay. So let's start with spring. What might a spring marriage look like? I think in a spring marriage, there's probably definitely a lot of positive feelings, a lot of newness.
Right.
So this isn't just. Go ahead.
I was going to say the same thing because you're coming out of winter.
A lot of newness. I would say let somebody think about, well, spring doesn't exist the longer you be in it. No, you have springs. Doesn't matter how many years you're in. And the crazy thing about marriages, seasons and marriages, is they don't go in order. You can have a spring, then a spring, jump over to a winter, come back to a fall, and then you're in a summer.
Right.
So spring is like a restoration period, or a restorative period, or a rebuilding period. A newness period. Maybe you discover new things about each other that draw you closer together. Maybe that spring that leads to a winter is you find out new things about each other that draw you farther apart,
right?
Push you apart. So, because that's what I'm saying, that even in that midst of that spring, you can have some vow challenges because you found out something new, right, in that spring period. So, spring might look like everything is well. We have the jobs we want. We have the money we want. We have promotions have happened. We are able to take the trips we want. We're able to shop how we want. Spring, 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 spring. Right. Summer might look like an overflow of that. Oh, we got some unexpected blessings. Where the baby is born and we have this new family, and there's a lot of joy around us right now. Summer is coming. Summer, I'm harvesting stuff, right? Or not even harvesting stuff. Well, there's some things that come in harvesting that time, but I'm harvesting stuff, and we're just having this awesome time. Things just seem to be going up and up and up. And I want to talk about some things that can happen in the middle of spring and summer, if we talk about it from a natural perspective. Okay. In spring, what is it? April showers bring May flowers. So, hey, guess what? We can have some rain.
Right.
In the middle. We can have some thunderstorms in the middle of spring. It's still pretty outside. Right. Trees still look nice. And if you live in Florida, you can have thunderstorms that pop up, and on one side of your yard it's sunny, and on the other side of your yard it's torrential rain, right? So you can, and that could be even representative of the two people in the couple. One person sees the rain, the other person sees the sunshine, and that ain't gonna be good. That's gonna create its own challenges. Tornadoes happen in the spring, right? If you live in Florida, what else is happening in the summer? Hurricanes. Right, depending on where you're at, hurricanes are happening in the summer. And the thing between hurricanes and difference between hurricanes and tornadoes are those sudden things. Right. I suddenly lost a job, or I suddenly had an ailment that those are tornadoes. Didn't see it coming. Right. There were some indicators, but it popped up that quick. And when tornadoes come through, they pretty much demolish everything. They're quick and they do a lot of damage. Right. You can have those tornadoes in marriage. But then there are, in summer with hurricanes, you usually have time to prepare. Right. So you can preserve things. You can move to safety. And you can minimize damage. You might,
it's still out of nowhere, but you have more time to prepare.
I don't know if they're out of nowhere.
Well, they can pop up. You just have a longer span before they actually make it to you.
Have an impact.
That's what you can see them brewing.
You can see them on afar off, but a tornado is like, oh, bad thunderstorm. Oh, we just spotted a tornado spout came down. What? Right? So, yeah. But you have that time of preparation, right? A tornado could pop up right in front of our house like this. If the weather is there, there's the potential, but you don't know that it's going to pop up. And it can pop up right outside there. And the best you can do is run to the safest room of your house. Unless you got a tornado bunker, you can hope that you can get to that. Right? But with a hurricane, I got time to board up the windows, depending on what category it is. They predicted the strength in. I can decide to stay at the house. I can get some extra food because we ain't gonna evacuate.
Go get all the water
I
out the store.
yeah, and the tissue for some reason,
right?
Because we might have to wipe out. I don't know, just craziness, right? So you could do that when it comes down to tornadoes. I mean, or to hurricanes, and then you come back and just like a tornado can tear your house off the foundation, so can a hurricane, right? But you had time to preserve what matters a lot of the times, which is your life.
Right.
Okay. So those things can happen in the middle of spring and fall. I mean spring and summer. And they can also happen just like that in marriages, where hurricanes and tornadoes come to visit your marriage, and you have to, depending on which one it is, your behavior is going to be different. How you move is going to be different.
Right. And I like for hurricanes that you can actually, because I'm just thinking, when you say if you decide to stay home or go somewhere else or shelter, but you have time to get to a safe place. Yeah. And with tornadoes, it just depends. Sometimes, like you said, you may not get a chance to get to the bunker, or you have to run to get in the tub or the closet or wherever it is.
True. I like that. After spring, summer, there's fall. This is when things start to decline. Things start to die off. The one thing that I really like about fall is that fall is also a very beautiful time of year, depending on where you're at. I can remember being up north on a business trip and just kind of the beauty of the leaves changing color, because we don't get that same beauty here in Florida. But the beauty of how it looks.
Right.
So as you progress, you may have some fall moments, but you still have time to prepare for winter in fall. Right? Fall may indicate those times where things are happening. I know, like for me, in our marriage during and it was probably more of a fall for me, not saying that it wasn't for you, but I had a lot going on as it relates to stepdad, mom, biological dad, sister, whatever. All those things were over an expansive time, but it still created a fall season for me. Right, from a life perspective. Right. And so that fall can come visit your marriage. And I think the thing is, what do we do in the natural in the fall seasons? You start dressing differently. Right. You start eating kind of different foods. You eat more hearty meals, it seems, in fall. You look forward to family gatherings and times during the fall.
You do Thanksgiving. You're looking forward to. Oh well, yeah, that's right.
Right.
The end of fall.
Right. You're looking forward to certain things. So fall isn't all bad, and you could still have a lot of things that are going good, but the pace slows down.
Right.
The abundance may not be as evident because things seem like they're dying off.
Right.
Fall
slowing
brings
down just a little bit.
Right.
You're like, oh, we're coming off the high. It's not, sad. We're just in that adjustment stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that.
We're starting to adjust.
Yeah, because you know what? Aside from the heat, between spring and winter, like in Florida, we get winter junior sometimes in the spring. But aside from the heat, there's not a lot of difference in between spring and summer.
Right.
Like the heat is more
Right.
consistent in summer.
Yes, for sure.
But in fall, you know what I'm saying? You can see visually more of those adjustments.
Right.
You can see visually, more visually, those adjustments that are happening with fall.
Right. For the spring, it just kind of blends into the summer.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fall, there's some beautiful moments. There's some family time moments. But you do realize that things are marching towards winter sometimes in the midst of fall.
Right. That things are changing. And it's almost like preparation. I need to prepare for the winter.
Because that's
I'm
when
not
the
sure
harvest
how cold it's going to get.
Yeah.
You know, some winters are colder than others. You don't know if it's going to snow. Not us Floridians, but you know, if it's going to snow or blizzards or all of the things that come with winter that you're kind of thinking, how much should I prepare for?
Back in the day, that's when they would start canning. Close to the end of summer, beginning of fall. Blanching the peas, all of that good stuff didn't happen.
Right.
Because you're not a lot of stuff is growing.
Right, in winter.
In winter. So you're getting stuff, your final preparations to go into the winter season. And in winter, things can get brutal. In winter is where you have the greatest chance of losing hope. But the funny thing about, to
or
me,
getting served. Say served.
Getting served.
You know what I'm talking about? Serve those papers.
Oh.
It's like winter, like you say, when it's brutal and it's like, you know, I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's too cold.
Yeah. That you getting served, stepping outside, you know, closing off, isolating, shutting down.
Right.
All of those things can happen during winter. What's interesting about winter, I think, is some of the signs of whether you're going to have a harsh winter are there during the spring and the summer. But there's so much joy in the air that a lot of things get ignored or let go during the good times, when in reality, that's the best time to address them.
Right.
While things are stable and good. Not wait until it's at its wit's end.
Right. And I'm just smiling because that's one of the things you talk about even now in premarital when you're coaching is about those signs, because when you're dating you are so focused on the fun times that you're having or whatever, you miss some of the signs or the flags, the red ones.
The red ones.
Yes. The red flags and the signs of these things coming or these things are possible or very realistic. We overlook a lot of things, you know, because you're in that moment and you want to enjoy that moment. And the thing you do have to learn doing marriage and all of these seasons is that balance. Because for me, I remember in a spring, summer moment, but not embracing it fully and letting it be what it is, because I'm thinking that, you know, when something good happens and the person negatively say, or expect something bad to happen because it's going so well or so good, and not necessarily to expect it at that moment or think negative about that that situation or that time, but fully embrace it, live in it. And when the other comes, because you know something else is coming, it just comes, you know.
Right.
And then you're gradually, throughout all the seasons, preparing for the next season.
Right.
preparing for the seasons with communication and all of the things that you should be doing, investing in your marriage.
Yeah.
And all those things that you don't do or you might wait until the last minute to do.
Oh, I'm glad you said investing in your marriage, because that's one of the things that we absolutely teach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is in the spring and the summer, that is the perfect time to invest in your marriage. And let me be clear about what investing is.
Mm-hmm.
Nice vacations are not investments in your marriage. They are a type of investment.
Right.
So let me talk about an investment. Diversify your portfolio, right? Nice vacations are a type of investment,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not the only investment you need to have. Nice trips,
Right.
nice date nights, nice restaurants. Those are all types of investment you can make in your marriage, but they should not be. They are not should not be the only types.
Right.
So you may be asking, well, what do you mean by that? What type of investments are we talking about? So when we're thinking about investing in your marriage, one of the things that I'm looking at, or we kind of look at, is this. In investing in your marriage, you are talking about um, going to things that feed your marriage,
Right.
going to things like Weekend to Remember, which is by Family Life. Very good conference, nice weekend. It is not you're going to go to a nice place to do it,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to, except for that date night that you are actively working on assignments related to your marriage. Mm-hmm. You're writing letters, you're reading things, you're having certain discussions. That's investing in your marriage. Mm-hmm. Going to, like we went to Black Love. That's investing in your marriage. Is where they're talking. All these people are talking about couples and marriages and relationships. You can learn some things and different stuff like that. So you're talking about that,
right?
When you're talking about investing in your marriage, you're talking about what's something. Oh, we went to the XO conference, mm-hmm. that Jimmy Evans in his church and ministry do. That's another great conference that we enjoyed, and we learned a lot of stuff in those type of things. So investing in your marriage means about like going to things that are intentionally feeding your marriage, mm-hmm. marriage conferences and seminars and events and couples retreats that are focused on having a good time but balanced with learning about marriage. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the things you can invest in your marriage is like keep a lookout on the upcoming marriage refresh event that we trying to plan right now. Mm-hmm. So that's an opportunity to invest in your marriage. So mm-hmm. listen, invest in your marriage, but invest in it in the summer. Not that you can't invest in it in the winter and the spring. Mm-hmm. I mean the winter and the fall, right. But invest in it in the summer and the spring, because that's when you need to. That it'll bring up some things that are like, oh, whoa, didn't realize we were off track with this.
Right, in the good times, and not just wait, because most of the time people wait till their bad times or the house is on fire to then want to invest. You know? Instead of along the way, you can find out the little small things that you didn't even know irritated, aggravated each other.
Right.
You know, or things that you don't realize other couples experience.
Yeah.
And it's so many different things, and you hear different ways, or how maybe they deal with it or resolve the issue. And I'm not saying you have to do the same thing, but it gives you an idea. It gives you a context. It gives you, oh, we're not the only person or people dealing with this issue.
Yeah. I know that when we did one of the most, I won't say, because all of them were good. There was something powerful about when we did Weekend to Remember, because we went to the Orlando session, and in the room were nearly 1,000 people. So that meant that there were nearly 500 couples. Mm-hmm. And there was a couple in there that had been married 60 years, 50 years, 54, something like that. And they were still in there. Like, and they're like, why are you coming? You can never stop learning.
Right.
And I think that was so powerful, that Weekend to Remember, doing that stuff. And it's like, oh my goodness, this is a powerful thing, right? And being in the midst of all these other couples, there's just something about a power in the room with being in the room with that many couples who were all marriage minded in one way or the other. Some people were newlyweds, right? They just came fresh off the honeymoon or about to go on the honeymoon. So those are all good things. Invest in your marriage. Right. Invest in your marriage. I think it's so important. Um, there was something else you were saying when you were talking about that. Um, oh yeah. I like some TD Jakes. Hey, he said he stopped counseling marriages. Right? He almost hates it. He says because people don't really come to heal their marriage; they come to find out who the arsonist is. And he had me tickled. He said, "Oh no, don't come to counseling now." He said, "You may as well just pour more gas on it, light a stogie, and let it rip." And sometimes it feel like that. Like I can relate to what he was saying on that because we've coached different couples and different things. And it's like, I ain't saying y'all came to us too late, but you came to us too late because it isn't that it's too late to change it and heal it. You've done so much damage to each other. I don't know if y'all have the strength and the fortitude to do what it takes.
To do the work.
To do the work. Because it takes work to heal a marriage. It takes a lot of work. And we've gone through that personally and continue to get better and to heal. But man, it takes a lot of work to heal a marriage. It does. It is not for the faint of heart.
Right. It takes a lot of work for marriage. Period. To keep it going, keep it going. But what?
Go ahead.
Oh, because I said that word.
Yeah.
It does take a lot of work.
It does not.
No, it takes a lot of work.
No, it doesn't. Marriage is not hard work.
I said it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, but when you say a lot, people hear hard.
I think they just heard a lot.
Okay. Well, all right. They heard a lot.
Okay. Because it does take a lot of work. What you just said, it takes hard work and a lot of work that people
to heal it.
Yes, to heal it.
Yeah, to heal it is.
But here's the thing. I think most marriages are going to need healing at some point in the marriage.
Maybe
because the two becoming one.
The two becoming one is not a healing process. But okay,
but you have to heal individually in the process.
But that's you healing. That could be work. Here's what I liken it to, right? This is what I think marriage happens a lot of times in marriage. So you go to the car lot and say we go out and we buy a brand new car, 5 original miles on it. One of the things they tell you to keep the warranty, let's say it's a 100,000 mile warranty. One of the things they're going to tell you to keep that warranty intact, you got to get the regular scheduled routine maintenance. Right? If you keep ignoring the regularly scheduled routine maintenance, something minor is going to turn into something major.
Right.
So where I could have went and scheduled an appointment and got an oil change, now I got to go drop my car off and figure out how I'm going to get around until they fix the piston that done been thrown because I ran too low on oil. Or the engine. One of those is significantly more effort than the other. So I would say that if your marriage is healthy, it takes consistency to keep it that way, and you're going to have some challenges. But if you adhere to regularly scheduled maintenance,
which is investing in your
marriage, then your marriage is not going to be hard. The work to maintain it is not going to be hard. Because there's sometimes you take that car in there for regular routine maintenance, they still check everything. Because there could be things that you didn't even know was about to go wrong. And they like, I'm glad we caught this, because if you were to let this happen, then it's going to be a different issue. But because we caught it here, we can just do this. Right? Think about it this way. One of the things they do is they check your tires. Now they're trying to make a sale, blah, blah, blah. But they check your tire and you didn't even know. Your tires look perfectly healthy. But one of your tires was maybe dry rotted or had a crack. that could have been catastrophic, created one of those tornadoes or hurricanes. Could have been catastrophic, and you would have been going around a curve. That tire blew out instantly, and it flipped your car, and the car totaled you in the hospital, whatever. But because you took it for regularly scheduled maintenance, they caught it. So that's what I'm looking at. Like the work aspect of it depends on how well you do the maintenance.
Right.
And I think a lot of times we don't do the maintenance.
Right. And I'm gonna say this just to be relatable. What are they catching? They are catching the bitterness that you have, the resentment that's built up, the contempt, all of these things. They're catching them early because what happens is a lot for us. We sit on it and we let it build up, and then, like you say, it explodes if I'm not having maintenance, or I'm not going to someone that would notice. She has a smile on her face, or he's like, I'm cool, but there's an issue there. Yeah. And you need to deal with it now.
Yeah. I want to talk about, this ain't for this. This is some Bible stuff right here. But I want to talk about one of the other things I was reflecting on today is the authenticity of Christian brother and sisterhood. Because we have to dive into that. It's different, but it talks about those things. And the reason that popped in my head is because that person is looking at you, and even if you tell them that something's going on with you, people are like, "Oh yeah." What I found out through when we were going through some of the toughest times in our marriage, I found out that most believers don't like dealing with the blood of other believers. They want you to hurry up and get better. They want your marriage to hurry up and get better so that they can be around the healed or appearing to be healed version of you.
They want you to pretend it's okay.
Yeah, they want you to be, but that ain't even for you. It's for them. It's so that they don't have to deal with that. If you're a jovial person, they want to get back to that person. They don't care that you may have to put on a fake for them to see that. But that's a whole nother discussion. Because I've had some situations where I've shared some things. I only have maybe one or two friends that when I share like my heart of things I might be facing or internal struggles, that they actually take the time to get curious and dig in. Otherwise, they just want to pull from Damon. They want to pull what he's saying. He's this and this and that. And some of that I've come to realize is result of sometimes being the person that is usually the go-to person. You don't know how to deal with when the go-to person, the one that's encouraging, all of a sudden needs encouragement.
Right. When they say check on your strong
friends. Yeah. So, we almost at time. So, anything you want to say to wrap up? What would you want to? Huh?
That's how we were in that.
Because I could talk another 15, 20 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah. What
about being there for the person? Were you gonna finish?
No. That's a whole believer conversation.
Oh, okay.
Because I think that believers have got to stop faking like we're brothers and sisters. Because there's things that brothers and sisters do for each other, and brothers and sisters are not afraid to see the blood of brothers and sisters.
Okay.
I want you to stop bleeding, but I want you to stop bleeding in a healthy way. Right? Because I could potentially stop bleeding, but I could be doing it in an unhealthy way.
Right.
Just so that you don't have to see my blood. Right?
Right. Where you don't take care of it or do it properly, and then you got bacteria and infection and
all of that. So that's a different conversation, because I really want to, it's one of those things where we like to quote scripture. Iron sharpens iron. Well, if iron sharpens iron, you realize there's some friction. But the friends that people will run from is the ones that bring friction. Well, how are we supposed to sharpen each other?
Exactly.
Because iron sharpening iron produces friction. And if you keep running from the friction, somebody ain't going to get sharpened. Just biblical stuff. I ain't going to get into it.
All right.
But as it relates to the seasons, I want to leave people with this tonight. invest in your marriage in the good times. Diversify that portfolio. So trips and vacations and shopping and dates, nights, those are good. But go somewhere and intentionally go somewhere to learn about marriage. Intentionally go somewhere to learn about marriage. Mm-hmm. There are an abundance of retreats and seminars and workshops that you can go to, even if it's a 1 day, couple hour, go and do it. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, starting in September, we'll be putting a date out there. We're going to start out doing it probably once a month, mm-hmm. Saturday mornings, where we're going to do a couple checkup at our location here in Wakulla, where we're going to bring couples together and we're going to teach and talk about different aspects of marriage for about an hour or so. So come in Saturday morning, we'll get together, talk about marriage, answer questions about marriage, interact, and then we'll go home. But we want to do that. Mm-hmm. It'll be at no cost because we just want to serve our community. Because when there are stronger marriages, that's a question I had. Another post that I created and I didn't put out there, telling my creative juice, I got to figure it out what's going on. But I put it out there is, do you think that your marriage impacts the community you live in? Yes or no? Mm-hmm. Whether it's positively or negatively. And so we believe that yes, it does. And so we want to make sure that we pour back into our community and give those opportunities to talk at no cost, probably 1-2 hours max, where we'll sit down, we'll dive into a topic, we'll have some opportunity to answer questions related to the topic or not, mm-hmm. and we will just come together as a community of marriages. So that's one of the things that we're going to be doing starting in September. We'll put that first date out there for you to come in, and this is not something that will be live streamed. This is not something that we will be doing virtually. It is serving our community, so in the surrounding areas. So if you live in the surrounding areas, any of the counties close by, I don't care. You're welcome. You could live in Miami, Florida, and you hear about it and you want to come to it, you're more than welcome, because we believe it's going to be powerful and power packed. So that's what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Coming up in September. Got anything else to say to the people before we get out of here?
Just embrace whatever season that you are in, knowing that it's going to change. You may be in winter right now, but we'll get back around to a summer or spring and even fall. But just work whatever season you're in. Make sure that you are doing what you need to do to prepare for the next season and the other seasons. Fully embrace it. If it's summer, if it's good, live in it. Don't cut it short by waiting for the winter or expecting the winter or even worrying about the winter. It'll take care of itself because the winter gonna be winter. But enjoy your summer, your spring, and even your fall if you're learning in it, and winter. A lot of times we don't embrace winter, but it is because you have to have winter in order to have your next spring.
And it's, oh man.
Or your next summer. And so a lot of times we don't. It's just a learning season. And then if you surround yourself with the right people and invest in your marriage, it'll definitely grow.
Yeah.
It'll definitely grow into what God has purposed it to grow. So.
Yeah. And you said something, and oh my goodness, there's so much more to teach on winter, because winter, though it can be bitter, there can be beauty still in winter. Mm-hmm. There's still provision in winter. You might have to work a little harder to get at it, but when you were saying something that I wanted to make sure that people didn't miss, just because there are seasons in marriage, we're not implying that all of those seasons mean that you as a couple are going to be over here, you're going to be at each other's throat. We're not saying that.
Right.
Because those seasons are going to season, regardless. Why we want you to be strong as a couple is so that you can weather those seasons together. There will be some seasons where y'all create it because of the friction between you. Winter comes. But there will be some seasons that are just a natural course of life that come. And if y'all are a strong unit, then you'll be able to get through those seasons without letting it fracture you. Right? So I want to make sure that is that. We're not just talking about the seasons between each other, but seasons are going to happen. And the stronger your unit is, the easier you'll get through those seasons. One of the things about winter is there's even a storm in winter. It's a blizzard, right? And it can snow you in, and there's some dangers with that. So now imagine being blocked in, but I can't get out because I got to dig out or wait for somebody to dig me out. And now we're here together. How do we get through that? Have we prepared enough food? Have we prepared our home enough? One of the things I like to challenge men in, using the story of Noah in the ark, is, can you live in what you built? Winter will challenge whether you can live in what you built, because when winter comes and a blizzard hits and you're snowed in and you can't get out, your ability to prepare, your ability to prepare your home, your ability to prepare substance to get you through being snowed in, your ability to keep warm, all of those things of preparing your home are important in winter.
And what he's built and what I've managed.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. That's it. Listen, that's all we have for you. Thank you for joining us tonight again on Late Night Marriage with the Riches. Remember, it is lights off, transparency on. That's what we all about. We'll see you on the next video. God bless.
Good night.